What's up, everybody? I'm James. Welcome to Mechanical Mayhem, and welcome to the MechWarrior 5 Clans Flashstorm DLC story-driven campaign playthrough. This is where we will be checking out all the cutscenes, listening to the banter, and I'll be going over things pertaining to what's going on, the greater scheme of the Battletech lore, and all stuff in between for this really fun DLC campaign. We are one of the Silverroot Keshik, and I'll be doing this campaign with custom builds on expert difficulty. So, with that in mind, strap yourselves in and prepare for drop.
Are we finished hibernating, Star Captain?
Gustav said he has an important update.
Yes.
Do not keep us in suspense.
My source within Silverdale informed me they discovered the main spaceport will soon be operational again.
You are certain? Our last scans showed it was still down.
It appears they had backup fusion reactors and orbital solar collectors used in tandem to feed power back into the system.
And the second are still falling back into the city?
They are trying to flee.
And 3 Union dropships will be waiting for them here, at the spaceport.
Any word on when those dropships will be launch ready?
Power has not fully been restored to the spaceport yet. My source indicates there is a 3 to 5 hour window to stop them before they can launch out.
It appears we do not have as much time as we thought.
They have forces stationed on the outskirts of the city, defending every entry point.
Naturally.
There is also a heavy concentration of forces inside the city, with a massive force said to be guarding the dropships.
Air support?
They have fighters patrolling the perimeter.
Ah, so it is a gauntlet all the way into the city.
F. Our best chance is to slice through their guards at each access point. From there, we will engage the bulk of the second forces inside the city trying to buy time for their dropships. Star Commander Rook, your elemental points will insert from the outskirts at the eastern point. Star Colonel Zung will lead his bears in from the south. I will lead Bravo from the west. We roll over every second unit until we reach the dropships and deny their takeoff.
We have seen some hot zones on this rock, but they will offer up the most resistance we have faced yet.
Are you requesting to stay behind, Samuel?
I have walked into hell with you many times, Star Captain. Not going to stop now.
Then I will contact Star Colonel Zung and inform him of the plan of attack. Everybody gear up and make sure you are ready to deploy. We have a narrow window to ground those dropships, and I have no desire to report mission failure to Sakan Kabrinsky. Kuyaf?
Understood.
We will see it done, Star Captain.
Alright, this is the final mission. 500 tons of fury, and we have every bit of it with 4 Kodiaks and a direwolf. I prefer the direwolf over the Kodiak personally. I just feel better inside the direwolf than the Kodiak, and I like, of course, being an Omnimech, I can mix and match Omnipod sets to make the build I'm looking for. In this case, that means a whole bunch of medium pulse lasers and 4 ER large lasers. So it's going to be quite the firepower for sure. Although I did forget to set up my weapon group, so one of the first things I'm going to do upon gaining control is doing that and ruin the whole mood. But hey, it's what you do, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Now, we entered Silverdale basically at the outskirts of it in the prior mission, and now we're going to the actual city itself. So, get ready for some serious combat. All of these medium pulse lasers are also going to get put on a third weapon group in a chain fire situation. This is going to make it so when things get a little hot or the mech is severely crippled and almost taken out, I can just chain fire some pulse lasers until it goes down. So of course that thing is behind a hill. I started shooting at it thinking I could hit it. I can't. But it does showcase the capability to burn down these trees and cut them down, the added effect, which is pretty cool. Same thing with the power lines.
I was busy preparing for this operation.
So, what I like about this is that we get to see multiple things come to a head or to conclusion. This is the final mission of the campaign, a fantastically fun campaign, really cool missions.
Thank you, Star Captain.
And we see Jonathan maturing a bit and requesting Shirkai. We see, in essence, this act kind of showcasing a bit of acceptance of this cub into their star. It's still absolutely absurd to have somebody fresh out of Civco training in a Keshik, but I think they've warmed up to him a little bit because he's hung through all this while. So they definitely probably would not have picked him, right? Clearly, but he was ransomed in by Sakan herself, and he's proving his worth. It looks like, at least that's how it seems they're acting. So that's pretty cool.
They are about to fail their objective.
So we have the beginnings of a screening force. Poor Firestarter, like, it's just a light mech, and he just stared down a full 500-ton star. So obviously, MechWarrior is known for just powering up your tonnage and giving you the biggest stuff and the most amount of weapons to use at the end, and therefore it gets, you know, critiqued for not being that strategic or tactical, and that's all based on your playstyle. You can have all this firepower, but if you don't use it effectively and you do good shot placement or maneuvering, that's on you. But I do get that critique, but also rule of cool. It's so much fun rolling in with 500 tons of clan technology going, what you gonna do about it? And then basically utilizing everything at their disposal to try and do something about it. There's just something fun about that. So we hear about Rook getting into position, and we have, of course, our star moving in as I accidentally pause. And we have Star Colonel Zhang moving into the southern base region.
I have a clear view of the city.
And we are moving into the city itself to basically draw fire and take out a bunch of defenders so we can move on to the dropships. So as you saw in that accidental pause at the very least, had a purpose of showing us this expert difficulty still, like I've said before. I won't say any more on that because I believe I talked about it last mission as I walk through an enemy vehicle. There's a lot of firepower being thrown at us. It might not be on a per tonnage basis, like it's medium mechs and vehicles, but there's a lot of them. We just blasted through it. And notice the plume of black smoke. When you destroy some of these buildings, particularly residential style buildings in this city, they erupt into fire and smoke, which is really cool. It's a nice added touch. It adds to the immersion of where you're at and what you're doing. It makes it hard to see through, but I really like the effect, so I approve of that message, if you will. Pretty cool stuff. So we are dealing tremendous damage to that dragon. There's a catapult here to take care of. We're just generally here to kick over the hornet's nest and stomp on it, and that's exactly what's happening. We are burning through their screening forces. Now, I do wonder, you know, chicken or the egg, like, did Al Shane go the way it did because of the battle, Luthien being so close to it and these forces needing to be there? Or, you know, or was it a case of, you know, this battle and taking this world would have gone either way? Not either way, would have gone this way regardless of whether or not they decided to try and link up and crush one section at a time with Ghost Bear. Because in the prior cinematic last mission, they talk about how they do believe they could win if they basically grouped up and smashed each section of Ghost Bear by itself. The thing is, Ghost Bear isn't just going to sit there and take it, and Ghost Bear is also very powerful, so I'm not certain if they tried that, if Elshane would have been saved or not. It's hard to tell. I don't know too much about this lore on a more in-depth level for this particular battle because it's not Smoke Jaguar, which is my focal point, but it is Ghost Bear and they're cool. But I definitely give Ghost Bear the benefit of the doubt on that one. I feel like they would have conquered this world regardless. It just probably would have been bloodier. But they're a very powerful unit, the Alpha Galaxy of Ghost Bear, and Ghost Bear is a very powerful clan. So I just feel like I don't think it would have resulted in a loss for Ghost Bear if they didn't try to get to Luthien. Speaking of, the reason they're going to Luthien and not sticking around and fighting is because the Battle of Luthien was leaked by a spy to the Draconis Combine earlier than intended. They were going to announce their intentions to attack that world, but they were going to do it basically the same way they did every other world. It wasn't going to be that far in advance. But somebody, either in Comstar or some other type of spy network, found out that Smoke Jaguar and Nova Cat were going to attack Luthien, and Draconis Combine was informed, and this is why we have recall orders like the Second Sword of Light, and why the loophole for mercenaries were able to get them to the planet's surface before the battle started. If that wasn't leaked, there's a good chance Luthien could have went very differently, but we're Ghost Bear and we're never going to fight there at this juncture, so it doesn't matter. But I just want to point it out, like, in that cutscene it's brought up, and it's very plausible that if it wasn't for the leak, that cutscene could have been very different, and the war, of course, was different. So it's kind of neat, and makes you wonder how much of that plays into really Alshane being taken, because it's a major industrial hub style of world. It's an important world to be sure, but obviously not as important as a capital world. So, in any case, Ghost Bear has delivered quite a good punishing invasion to this planet with Alpha Galaxy, so, you know, I think they probably would have conquered it either way. But, and it's a big but, maybe a corgi level of but, the planetary militia has only just been activated. And what they lack in raw capability, and even technology to a degree, although not always, but definitely in capability, they more than make up for it in numbers. And we heard about this from Yuichi with the militia forces of the local defense forces of Luthien. Right, same deal. This is the same deal here. So the Second Sword of Light is like an elite regimental force. So is the Alshane regulars. The planetary militia are your run-of-the-mill ad hoc, just protect the planet, stall tactics style of force, where numbers are going to be their tactic over actual capability, and they are just now mobilizing. Now, whether or not Ghost Bear is fully aware of that remains to be seen. I do feel like they would have to be thinking about militia forces when it comes to Sword of Light retreating off world, because the whole point of Sword of Light retreating is to preserve their force. So they're not going to use a chunk of their force, purely on its own to screen the retreat of the rest of their force. It's not when they have a planetary militia that hasn't really seen combat yet. So I'm sure it had to be in the back of some Ghost Bear Command's mind, but it does make you kind of wonder about how much this move was expected or not. The idea of holding the planetary militia, because surely they've conquered other worlds up to this point. They know about planetary militias, so it definitely had to be looming in Upper Command's mind. Where are they? What's going on? And as we know from seeing the cutscene, they are coming, so don't need to worry about that. But right now, it's just cutting through these local defenders. And while this is kind of implied to be all Second Sword of Light, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some planetary militia in here. I know if I was the commander of the Second Sword of Light, I would have some of my units screening our withdrawal, but I also would have had advanced mobilization of the militia once the order was given, and I would have had them stationed here to be the bulk of the screening force, but that's just my own thoughts. In any case, this is a particularly big cityscape. I really like the design of it. We don't often get some really cool looking cityscape, townscape type stuff in Battletech. We got a decent amount of them in MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. The clans often avoid battles in cities like this, again for infrastructure reasons. But even back in MechWarrior 2, and you can even argue MechWarrior 1 to a very, very, very limited degree, when they did city stuff, it was cool. I mean, definitely MechWarrior 1, it was just a series of boxes. And in MechWarrior 2, it was a series of boxes with like lines on them. But if you played it back then, surely you were like me, and those boxes that represented cityscape and buildings never were just boxes to us, right? They look like what we're seeing here in our minds. And if you go back and look at it now, while it is silly, the fact that they took the time to even do that with the limited capabilities of the technology back then, and having our mechs there and the combat going on, and having these terrain features like mountains and buildings and whatever else going on, which is really cool for immersion purposes at that point of what was capable, and you see it continue on throughout all the different releases. And here we are in Alshane, Flash Storm DLC, on Alshane, in SIlverdale, sealing this really cool city with cherry blossoms and residential houses and high-rise buildings and whatever else. It's just really cool. Maybe it's just me, but I really like it. cool cliff faces in the background on both sides. Getting the achievement for destroying 25 light mechs in an assault mech is some reason I haven't ever unlocked that yet until now, despite my multiple playthroughs of MechWarrior 5 Clans. It all adds up to a very cool, visually striking level, right? Terrain area, cityscape. I really like it. I also really like BattleTech's kind of way they do cityscapes, right? Not everything's going to be like this, but whenever plausible for the lore of a city, whether it's clan or in a sphere, it's built into, amongst, and around natural terrain features as opposed to just bulldozing it down flat and building all over every square inch. And I just like that, right? It kind of speaks to the concept, I guess, of what you can do when you're not bound to a single planet, right? Part of our city structure building, which we're trying to overcome by putting like miniature little like tree forested areas on top of building roofs nowadays. But one of the things we do with our limited square footage on our planet, with population rapidly growing, is we build in every square inch in a city, right? It's all like concrete jungle. But when you have multiple planets, a lot of them, like the inner sphere here, you can afford to have the planets, you know, being treated like provinces or states, and you don't have to demolish all the natural wonder of a planet. You can just build around it, and that's what we see here in this cityscape. We've seen it in a lot of cityscapes, not just in MechWarrior 5, but just in the lore of BattleTech, and that's pretty cool. A bit random to talk about, but you know, I appreciate stuff like that because that's world building, right? That's the immersion coming in, and they did a really good job here. And yes, 20th century powerline looking stuff is also very BattleTech, so I think that. And when in doubt about not wanting to get critical damage, just barrel through buildings. You're a mech, let's do that. So I did. I wanted to avoid a potential armor breach early on, so I decided to use terrain to my advantage by going through it and using it to block me. But it doesn't matter, I repaired instantly. I'm shot at because the AI cheats. But that's okay, because it wasn't a lot of damage, and we're just gonna obliterate stuff anyway. I really like the use of vehicles, like putting them in parking lots and whatnot. It just makes it feel like a lived-in world, not a sterile settings. So that's pretty cool. There the Unions are looming in the background, and we have missile turrets to destroy. We have mechs to destroy. That's a cool little satellite image. We have the terrain features that can get in the way. That poor cicada is not going to know what hit it. There's an archer. And we have our elementals, which have been helping all the while. Another turret to take out. And then I'm going to randomly shoot through the sky. But you'll notice the difference in shot placement between certain torso mounted stuff and arms, right? You see a little change there. So, always good to keep that in mind when you are aiming at actual targets in the sky. I think I accidentally clicked the fire button when I was looking around, because that's what happened. So there goes that cicada's leg. It's having a very bad day. I do like the cicada mech, but I feel bad when you have to face down a Kleiner star of any size when you're in a cicada. It's just like, eesh. They're cool, but they're gonna take a beating. Alright, so we're punching through, preserving the city while we can. And there is our objective, those 3 unions in the red of the second sword of light, as is typically kind of exemplified, and they're looking really cool. I like when union dropships are painted up and not just metallic color. It always looks good.
Moving into strike range.
And we are going to be starting to send fire downrange. Now, we do have screening forces here, a Thunderbolt, a Thing Doesn't Victor. So we're going to try and just burn them down quickly, take out that Shadowhawk, because we want to blow up these units. We don't want them taking off. Of course, that's going to be easier said than done, because A, unions are very tough to take down as mechs, and B, they have a screening force. The Shadowhawk has definitely seen better days. This Victor is about to see better days, that's for sure. It's an assault mech though, and for not being the heaviest assault mech out there, it can take a decent beating, but it has 500 tons shooting at it, so that's not a good day. So there's a medium laser. Pulse lasers, I should say, in action. Chain fire is try and just save on some heat. don't need to like alpha strike, not alpha strike. You don't need to fire all bajillion medium pulse lasers into a turret necessarily. At least not when you can afford to take some time to chain fire it. So Jonathan isn't doing too good with his Kodiak, so I'm going to have him repair for short here. I probably will too, because I'm always the one getting shot up. We'll see. I might not. I'm not sure yet. Because I don't remember if I repair here or later. I repair a lot in this, put it that way, but there's a reason for that. And chances are I will be repairing here, because I'm always taking the hits. Outside of Jonathan taking some hits here, I'm always taking hits. It's just, I always wonder if I should try and push it or not. But I'm pretty sure knowing what's coming, I repair. So there's that. That mystery is solved before it even happens. You're welcome. Anyways, we knocked out some targets, and one thing I didn't do, because I don't know why I didn't. I literally shot over the satellite, I think, but instead of shooting the satellite, I just shoot the turrets individually. When I could have taken out the satellite and taken out the turrets. But that's whatever. Look at them go. They're just gonna wee hee hee. The dropships are gone. The second solar light has pieced out. Here's the deal though. The music just got more ominous. So it's time for us to repair, just like I figured I would. I couldn't remember because I recorded this, you know, the day before. I slept since then, so I forgot. But yeah. So we just got the official numbering on how many planetary militia are mobilized. That's a lot of them. So yeah, we knew about that as players because we saw the cutscene, but I think the Ghost Bear forces skipped the cutscene. So we have fresh militia forces, planetary militia, completely fresh, ordered to mobilize and just overwhelm, and that's what they're going to try and do. So right off the bat, we see a Battle Master. We see an Atlas, right? I believe there's an Annihilator. Like, it's not looking good. So Atlas, Battle Master. Ouch. That Battle Master's seen better than those, that's for sure. I just really enjoy Clan Tech. If it wasn't for Clan Tech, things would be going a bit poorer for us. So there is an Annihilator. We definitely want to take that down. I don't care if it doesn't have LB-10X. It's got 4 AC-10s. If it doesn't have 4 AC-10s, it's got a bunch of PPCs and lasers. We want to take it down. Luckily, they don't tend to have the thickest of armor for what they are, but they're still 100 tons and have good armor. And now we can focus on the Atlas. So here's the deal. Planetary militia, they're not the best forces, but they can hit us with numbers, the likes of which are hard to repel just single stars, right? So that's currently our predicament, and the problem is because they got mobilized and are responding right now in mass, everybody's swamped. We can't spear tip it. We can't link up with a force to spear tip through and outmaneuver them and then hit them from behind or anything. Everybody's being pushed by this massive wedge that is the planetary militia. It's a actual meat grinder now for sure. And it's a good thing I did decide to repair for myself because I am being like targeted the most out of all of my starmates, so I'm glad I had that armor to get chewed through like it's doing right now. I really like the score though. MechWarrior 5 Clan's score from Smokejabber campaign to this one is fantastic. I think the more that they just do MechWarrior soundtracks, so the more that like MechWarrior games come out, the closer it kind of gets to being kind of in the spirit of and akin to some of the original game soundtrack, or I should say some MechWarrior 2 soundtrack, not MechWarrior 1. But MechWarrior 2 really defined the soundscape of MechWarrior Battletech in my opinion. And we get steadily closer to that every time. And I like this soundtrack a lot. I feel like it's a good modernization of what it was all those decades ago. And when I say all those decades ago, I mean pushing nearly 3 decades ago.
I need your forces to deny their advance. We have our hands full with the 6th. We cannot withstand an attack on our flanks. Understood.
So we just learned from Sakan Kabrinsky what actually happens in the lore, specifically with the Second Sword of Light. The Second Sword of Light does withdraw, but as opposed to just leaving the system, they do go over to the Ptolemy Mountains, and they help the Alshan regulars break through to get out of there. They still take losses. It's not like the Ghost Bears get steamrolled, not at all. The Ghost Bears take losses, but the Ghost Bears also bleed out the Alshan regulars in the process. But they do not leave them to just get annihilated. The Second Sword of Light do go to their rescue, more or less. And it makes sense that they would do that alongside planetary militia forces. So what we are is a very thin line separating a massive thrust of planetary militia forces from going into the flanks of Sakan Kabrinsky's forces. And we have to hold that line.
Time is against us, Bravo. Let us turn back whatever is coming. On me.
I don't know, and I said this before, I don't know the ins and outs of this particular battle lore-wise because it doesn't feature my favorite clan, so I only know like a decent amount on it. So I'm not exactly sure how dire the situation would have been for Ghost Bear in the actual lore of things. This is a video game, it needs to hype stuff up, it needs to do things to make it fit into a video game interpretation in a MechWarrior style. But regardless, it definitely wouldn't be good to get hit in the flank by a fresh force, so we gotta stop that.
There. Beyond the wind turbines. Closing in fast. It just looks like a transport carrier.
So I don't ever see like the wind turbine stuff or whatever, but I do eventually see over the water the outline of what we're about to be facing, which we can see the health bar for,
What are we dealing with?
designated Caspian.
Scan shows it is equipped with significant
And it's
offensive
gigantic.
measures.
It's got big engines.
How significant?
Armed to the teeth.
It sure is armed to the teeth.
Missiles and Freebirth is outfitted with a goddamn orbital cannon.
And there that orbital cannon goes. That orbital laser is no joke. You want to be careful.
Bravo, fall back to the city. Move, move.
It'll punch through armor pretty
That
quickly.
weapon turns dropships into ash, Star Captain.
That
What is
is
our plan to take it out?
quite the weapon, an orbital laser. It's what's used to defend,
Us before we can figure
you know,
out a way to attack
from the ground to orbit, basically. Like you said, atomize or disintegrate dropships. So the buildings won't provide too much of support, but you can see it raking the ground and doing damage to us. It's not good.
Buildings will not protect us from that laser.
Luckily, the orbital laser is not being fired at us in the same capacity that the enemy fires like machine guns and stuff at us, because it would drop us instantly. But it just raked me twice, and whatever armor was left in my leg is gone. Right now, it's just structural damage.
Designation Caspian.
So we gotta hide from this Caspian, basically. Get to a repair bay, which there will be more,
And like the Iron Talon,
and we have to take it out. Now, the way to really take this thing out is to take out the rotors.
Probably a science
It has
experiment
massive
conducted by
rotors,
steroids.
massive engines. It's like a gigantic soul pole in that respect. But it also is armed with a lot more stuff. That orbital laser rakes the ground, it's no joke, and it has other firepower as well.
Rick, flip those repair bays back
And it's just demolishing these buildings.
Consider it done.
Just received a scan updating the area, Bravo.
So
We have turrets nearby.
there are turrets nearby, we can make use of that.
Damage on that thing.
But it keeps raking me with its orbital laser, and it just blew through my center torso, did some structural damage, so I gotta, before I do anything to try and scan stuff to help us out,
Short-range scanners,
I
Bravo.
need to
Do not
repair
let
up
us see
because I'm
cover.
hurt. It also deployed some mechs, I believe is what they said. I know it definitely does, and I think it already did. But all is not lost. We can get some turrets. We're gonna learn about an orbital relay to scan, which we will ASAP once we get the turrets. And if you'll notice, there are blue dots alongside the green dots of my star. Those blue dots are NPC allies.
Emplacement nearby.
That could even the odds a bit.
So it's not just our star. However, the
Just received a third
the
scan.
reinforcing forces are like mediums. I think there's an Evan Jaguar in there, there's a Huntsman, stuff like that. It's not
But we need to contact
anything like our star, but it's better than nothing.
This will not be much of a fight.
And I didn't even realize that it took out both my legs' armor and did some structure damage to both my legs, so you really gotta be careful with this thing. Now, in my first playthrough of this, when I got to here, I focus fire that orbital laser specifically, and you can take it out and then you don't have to worry about it. And while you definitely can do that, as you can see, it just damaging my allies. You can also just utilize maneuvering and buildings, kind of getting in the way a little bit for a short amount of time, and just outright focus down on the actual health bar of the Caspian with its rotors and whatnot to take it out. So it's up to you. Now we are scanning this
Bravo.
strike call.
Just received word that our warship has reached firing range and is preparing to.
And even though I cut her off mid-sentence, you know what's about to happen. This is really cool. And I did that because now's the time to repair before things get crazy.
Fighting fire with fire.
But we're calling in orbital strike from our warship. Now this is where you have to suspend disbelief and deal with the fact that it's a video game with health. Because there's no way this rotor blade driven gigantic monstrosity could survive orbital strikes hitting it at this capacity like this. But it's super cool and cinematic, so we obviously let it slide because it's too cool not to appreciate. And this together honestly leads to one of the best feeling final missions in MechWarrior for me. It just feels so cinematic. It doesn't matter if the orbital strike isn't outright destroying it or isn't doing too much. It's the sheer cinema of what's going down that looks fantastic with all the fighting, the really awesome score, the firepower of our mechs, our allies' star, the fact that we're throwing everything we can to try and bring down this monstrosity of a flyer is really cool. The science experiment going mad indeed. And just to disrespect the Marauder, I'm taking out his legs. There we go. Moving on. We haven't destroyed a single rotor yet, so this thing is definitely a bit beefier than your Sokals. I'm gonna have him repair and move out because things are getting hurt because it's got firepower. I haven't really targeted things that aren't the orbital laser or the rotors, but it has plenty of firepower outside of the orbital laser. There goes one rotor. And then we see the orbital laser just burn through an ally. Like, that's no joke right there. So it was very bad. SRMs, autocannons, orbital laser, you name it, we're dealing with it. But you can destroy all of his offensive capabilities. I don't think I ever done that. I think I just focused on the orbital laser and then just the engine, so I don't know if it brings anything back. But this is quite the fight, very cinematic. A really great capstone for a really fun campaign, for sure. You just gotta get that final hit on this thing. And kind of punch through these buildings, walk around, maneuver, and Marauder inbound, and just take out everything. I tend to worry about the mechs, but given the health being as low as it is on this Caspian, I'm kind of focusing more directly on the Caspian than the enemy mechs, because also I can see them on sensors. They're not really focusing on us. We have the blue allies there to kind of be bait, which is, you know, not the best thing in the world to say, but it's just the truth of it. However, I also know that being able to have everything focused on the Caspian is good, so considering my star is there, and they're picking on my star,
Weapon systems are hot. Moving to assault.
I do want them down. As long as they're not targeting my star, I don't tend to target them as much, but the moment you start targeting my star, it's the moment I forget about the objective and just have my star focus on you, and guess what's gonna win? My star. So while they do that, I'm focusing on this Caspian, and we take it out.
The Caspian just went critical. Great job, Bravo. But we have no time to rest.
I just destroyed
Just received an SOS
Marauder.
ping from Sakon Kabrinsky looking for an update.
The militia are pouring in from all directions, Star Captain. Our position will soon be overrun.
Star Colonel Zung, the Sakon needs us to hold the bridge leading out of the city. Our tanks are nearly empty. We need assistance.
We are pinned! We cannot move! We cannot move!
Well, Well, that's not good.
Copy that, Star Colonel. Good luck.
Guess we have to figure it out, huh?
Keep holding the eastern pass.
We will hold it as long as we can.
So basically, I don't know if the Caspian was the planetary militias or something the second Sword of Light activated alongside the planetary militia, but thankfully they don't have a lot of those. That's probably the only thing they have.
Roger that, Star
And
Captain.
we can pick up on what's going down. We're sending Point Commander Zarna away with
Happy
her
for the help, Point
elementals,
Commander Zana.
and we are maneuvering.
Samuel, switch to private.
Switching now.
It falls on our shoulders.
Here we go.
The third cannot help us. And we cannot allow that force to ambush the Sakan and the other bears.
The five of us cannot hold off a force that size, no matter how elite we are.
No. But we can slow them down. I think all of us have earned an honorable end. Except the Cub. I think he deserves a chance to win that blood name. What do you think?
I think he learned to fight from some of the finest Ghost Bear warriors in our clan. But truth be told, I never expected to survive the clawing ritual. So maybe we will make it out alive once again.
Scan mode engaged.
Af.
Scan mode disengaged.
Perhaps the Father will help us through this one. But I will settle for stopping the spheroids from killing our brothers and sisters.
If this is it, I will not miss the downtime or the briefings. I just wish we could have been around long enough to reach Terra and take our rightful place as the Ill Clan.
Af.
Scan mode
Just to
engaged.
ensure Clan Wolf does not take the mantle.
If we do not make it, we will give Bravo command back to Star Colonel Besla, and Jonathan will be her problem.
Alrighty.
Hi.
So
But I am not
they're
ready to give
continuing
Bravo
on.
back to Star Colonel
I like that little
Besla
banter.
just
It
yet.
shows growth, right?
We
Family.
are elite warriors of Clan
Jonathan has
Ghost Bear.
earned some respect out of
Let
them,
us
even
go
if he doesn't
prove
really
it
know
once
it.
again.
And that's pretty cool. So there's going to be a lot of cutscenes that are going to happen. Obviously, I won't talk over the cutscenes.
Switching
This is
back to
going to
main
be a
channel.
longer video, as you can tell. You click on it.
We need to get to that
So
bridge.
I'm going to share
now.
final thoughts after the cutscenes.
We will make our stand here.
We could always blow the ridge line. Halt their advance coal.
Neg, it will take too long.
What other choice do we have?
None. The third bear guards are tied down. We are all that is left.
Star Captain, your orders?
You all heard the Sakan. If the militia breaks through, they will link up with the regulars and overwhelm her position. We need to buy Aletha every second that we can to finish the regulars and secure this world. Our entire clan is counting on us.
What are we waiting for? There's some good cover over there. We can draw them in, right into a kill box.
Not you.
What?
Someone needs to warn the Sakan that this position will not hold forever, and that she needs to finish them off before it is too late.
No, I need to be here. With you. With all of you.
You do not need to die here with us. Live. And earn a legacy worthy of a good death. This is our time. Not yours. Go, MechWarrior. That is an order.
Yes. Star Captain. Your sacrifice will not be in vain.
To think, after all we went through, some no-name militia would be the ones to do us in.
Speak for yourself. I do not plan to die to such free-birth rabble. At least, not without a fight.
If we hold hold the line, this world will be ours. A new home for all of the clan. I cannot think of a more honorable death.
For the Silver Root.
For the Silver Root.
For the Silver Root.
For the Silver Root!
It is time.
This evening, we honor the lives of the fallen, whose sacrifices ensured the Ghost Bear's victory here. When this invasion started, the Ghost Bear struggled with the enormity of the task laid upon us. But those early mistakes galvanized us all into achieving something greater. Despite the hardships we faced, that dedication now sees us standing on one of the greatest prizes of the clan invasion. Not just a world taken for glory, but one that rivals the material value of our greatest holdings in the Kerensky cluster. We now commit these bodies to their final rest, and commit their memories to the remembrance, so that all may know of their deeds on behalf of the clan. And of their victory here, that will help lead us all into salvation. Selah.
Selah! Is this it? Is this our destiny as warriors?
For those of us who spent the prime of our lives, trapped on the homeworlds, daring to dream of one day returning home to the Inner Sphere, perhaps. But you were young. And now know the true cost our clan paid to return from exile and take a world such as this. A world where your generation will have a chance to do more than fight, but build towards one day making this place a true home for our people. That was Lilith's final gift to you. Chance to reshape this world. And carve out the Ghost Bear's true legacy within the Inner Sphere. Can you imagine it? What this place may become?
I think I can. It is glorious.
cutscene and a half, and the ended with a really cool Easter egg, kind of in homage to a well-known piece of art with the Ghost Bear warship in docking bay, being worked on and set up ready to go. So that was MechWarrior 5 Clans Flashstorm, the Ghost Bear campaign DLC, and it's a really fun campaign. I think they did a really good job with it, and I don't really think it's a surprise. One of the things about MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries is that it got 6 DLCs. I don't know if we're going to get that many here, but I'm sure we're going to get at least 2 more. My hope is anyway. But as those DLCs moved on and progressed, we saw an increase in quality, and they took what they learned from that and they made MechWarrior 5 Clans. And now Flashstorm being the first real true DLC that people were expecting something like this, I think did an absolutely great job with it. So I'm really pleased with the contents, with the selection that they did in terms of missions, the 8 mechs they added. Would I've liked to see other mechs? Sure, everybody wants to see other mechs or more mechs. There's a lot of really cool mechs in BattleTech, but I think they chose really good ones. And they made improvements to the mech bay or the mech lab. They added visual stuff. They just overall improved things for MechWarrior 5 Clans, as well as adding to it. And I think they did a really great job with this DLC. Nothing's perfect. I'm not trying to say that, but I think for what it is a really, really good showcase of the funness that MechWarrior 5 Clans is, just like this MechJaguar campaign. 12 missions. It's not 35, that's for sure, but it's, I think, for a DLC, for what they are and everything, I think it's a really good, solid amount of missions. It doesn't overstay on just one planet. Taking El Shane, if they made it more missions, I think it probably would be like, okay, when are we going to finally take it? But at the same time, it would have been cool to fight more on the Ptolemy Mountains, if I could say that word right. The Ptolemy Mountains would have been fun to have more missions there. But I think the 12 missions, including, of course, the first 3 of the 12 being in clan space, was a really nice flow to the story of Ghost Bear. My hope is when we get more DLC, A, that we will, B, that it will be the 12 mission formula like this and have some flow to it. The cutscenes, they did a great job with the cutscenes at the end of MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries DLC venture and with MechWarrior 5 Clans base, and of course here with Flashstorm, cutscenes are fantastic. I said it before in the MechJaguar campaign, but I would pay money to own a mini-series done in this engine with this kind of quality of cutscene stuff for watching a battle or something in the industry, or maybe a Succession War thing, or Star League, or something in Clan Space, or something in the Invasion. But watching it like a TV show to progress, I would totally do that. It's just a really job well done there. Obviously, I'm biased to a lot of stuff with the clans and enjoying BattleTech, but this is a game, for people to be a fan of. If you're a fan of BattleTech or enjoying mechs, I think you'll enjoy this story-driven gaming. It's a nice, refreshing kind of feel back to the formula of MechWarrior 2 days, for example. And we do that for MechWarrior 5 Clans, and they just continue that momentum here with Flashstorm. I enjoy the way they did the Ghost Bear campaign with their logistical issues, which is in the lore. I like the way that's represented. You don't have access to as many mechs as you want, or things of that nature. I think they did a very good job with that. So here we are. We finished mission success, and the first time we see something like this in regards to mission success is going to be KIA. We don't see that typically, so that was I think a attention to detail. Plus, we finished that campaign, we can do stuff, we get currencies, have fun, all that jazz. On top of that, I have a lot of merit points I could spend, and they added a nice cool detail piece, because you can do stuff, go to the Simpod, you can go to the barracks, right? Well, they took care of all that. This doesn't revert to pre-final mission. This is post-campaign, because it's just Jonathan and what you see on the table, which you have to select Jonathan for first, and then we go through everything. They're Codex bracelets. This is what he has from them. Their bodies were burnt. We saw it in the cutscene, but their codex remains, and that's what's on the table. So yes, we can add more experience points to them, and we can use them in Simpos and whatnot. But I like that attention to detail here. Just the fact that yeah, they're gone, and he's reflecting over that. A nice touch. So that's MechWarrior 5 Clans Flashstorm DLC. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Some audio issues in the beginning, but I think it ironed out well enough. Definitely a fun campaign playthrough. I look forward to playing through it again. I look forward to playing with these different mechs. I do hope certain things get addressed, such as level 13 honor needed for the Evan Jaguar and Night Gyre in the Smoke Jaguar campaigns. A little weird, but all in all, I think they did a really nice job with this DLC and giving us a cohesive story through the 12 missions, which feels very reasonable, to take a world, even though it was like more so 9 missions to take the world, but 3 preamble for it. It all worked out really nicely. The subplot with Jonathan and the Star worked, and because all of these characters are made up, the Silverroot Keshik is a real thing in the lore, but the characters within it were their own homebrew. They could do what they do with the story with it, and it doesn't mess up anything in the actual lore for the Silverroot Keshik, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, I could go on and on. I'm sure I'll do some more discussion thoughts on this DLC and on MechWarrior 5 Clans. I definitely have plans to discuss my thoughts on what future DLC could be like in like a Ramblecast style, so stay tuned for that, amongst build videos and just other Battletech lore things. Really cool gaming. If you are a fan of MechWarrior at all, or you've been curious about it, definitely a worthwhile pickup. Even if you're not somebody who thinks the clans are your jam, I think this is a great way to get into playing MechWarrior style games, and then from there you can decide if you want to get into MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries or whatever else. Not that you can't start off with Mercenaries, but I just think this is a really good way to get involved, honestly. But to each their own. Anyways, what are your thoughts? Thanks so much for tuning in and stopping by. This has been a long one, so I'm going to end it here. I could ramble on forever on this stuff. So thanks so much again for making it to the very end of this video. If you made it to the very end, comment the word Selah, because Selah. Alrighty, until next time, take care.